Okay, so here's the second video. In the first video you got your stitches cast on, and now here in the second video we're going to work them off in pattern. Now it's pretty easy to work them off in pattern if your pattern is knit one, purl one, as for 1x1 ribbing. Because remember, the stitches were cast on sort of in pairs, so I tend to view the stitches coming up in front of the wire as a knit and the stitches coming up from behind the wire as a purl. You can, by the way, do it the other way around and say these are purls and those are knits instead of the other way around, and it will still work. So whichever is good. But I typically call the ones in front knits and the ones behind purls. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to knit the knits and purl the purls. So that's pretty easy. And just working it off like so. So that's knitting and purling for 1x1 ribbing. Now, the tricky part is, what if you have something with a pattern, like 2x2 ribbing or syncopated ribbing, something like that. Okay, so remember, we are assuming that stitches are knit, purl, knit, purl. 2x2 ribbing is knit, knit, purl, purl. So we're going to knit the first stitch because we need a knit, and that's a knit. Now, the second stitch is a purl. We don't want that. But the third stitch is a knit. So I'm just going to jump forward, and I'm going to knit that stitch. So now I've done two knits. Bring my yarn forward because I want to do two purls. And I can back up and work a purl in the stitch that I skipped. Now those two stitches have been worked, so they come off my left needle. And my next stitch is a purl, which is exactly what I need. So I've worked knit, knit, purl, purl. I will do that one more time. So knit, jump forward and knit again. Yarn forward, back up a stitch, and purl. Those two finished stitches come off the left needle, and then purl after that. Okay, so now I'm going to flip the work. Okay, work is flipped. Now at this point, I probably want to work one more row before I take my waste yarn or cable or whatever out. So I'm just going to quickly work that row. Okay, and here we are, knit and purl, and there's the end of the row. Okay, there's the purl. Okay. So at this point now I have enough going that I can take the wire, the cable, the waste yarn, whatever it is, out. Notice how it is nicely trapped in my cast on edge. If you were doing something sculptural where you wanted wires for support, you might be able to use this in an interesting way. But in this case I just want to pop that out. So that comes out. The waist knot that I started with, that pops off, and there we go. I have my cast on in pattern. Now if you find this is getting a little bit loose through here, you could try the cast on using a much smaller needle for the cast on and then go up to your project needle when you do your first row in pattern. But that is how you work invisible cast on in pattern for 1x1 or 2x2 ribbing.